This is very interesting. Yeah, what the fuck? Like, how would they have cut down the birch tree? Thanks for the resub. Amir from the Prime. Murda. Toyota Pinto. Or Toyota Sprinter in the Prime Mech. Or the resub Mech and Car Loaded. I already watched the whole Cuffy thing, Step Ladder. Thanks to the Prime Lettuce.
After a year like 2020, the idea of taking a nice hike and getting away from it all has definitely been an enticing prospect. But after looking into today's topic, I sort of have mixed feelings. And as I'm sure many of you know, countless hikers go missing in a wide variety of bizarre and mysterious circumstances. Not to deter you from taking that hike, as we all know Mother Nature can be unforgiving. But that being said, today's topic should put into perspective just how little we know about the disturbing events that truly unfold when people find themselves away from civilization. The world is both so small that crazy coincidences can occur, but also too large that we often don't find what we're looking for. And that being said, this is the true story of the SOS incident.
They need to get some dirty mouse. Oh, cassette tape, eh? Next to another one, dirty.
On July 24th, 1989, two men had gone missing from Daisetsuan National Park in Japan. And shortly after, the search had begun, spanning the area surrounding Mount Asaidake, and a helicopter had begun searching throughout the day. As the day had come to a close, out of the corner of their eye, the rescue crew had noticed something down below.
Skunk Ape.
If it wasn't apparent from the footage already, there was an SOS signal that was visible from the sky, measuring in at 18 meters in length and 5 meters tall.
What did they use?
Out of various precisely cut birch trees.
Nice.
This sign was found about 4 kilometers south of the summit of Mount Asaidake, where there was no trail and people rarely ever veered towards that location. Seeing this as a clear call for help, the local police landed and patrolled the area in order to investigate, and as it would turn out, just a kilometer or so north, the hikers ended up walking out of the woods and were rescued. Shortly after, almost everything was back to normal, and when the hikers were debriefed on the situation, they had been told, had it not been for that SOS sign, rescuing them would have been a hell of a lot more difficult.
Oh, they didn't place it though.
When the hikers were told this, they were puzzled because they had never created any SOS sign. In fact, they had no idea what the police were even talking about, making their initial rescue an insane coincidence that would lead investigators down an entirely separate mystery. Because if they never made that sign, who did?
Aliens. Thanks to the recent paradox.
The next day, police dispatched a second search. The new efforts yielded some very interesting findings. For one, the most notable finding was an entirely separate human pile of bones.
What?
And this human skeleton was found 10 to 30 meters around the area of where the SOS sign was. To note some of the condition of the bones there, some of them had gnaw marks on them, likely due to wild animals in the area, and some of the bones were broken as well, indicating that whoever this was may have undergone some major injury. However, this wasn't the only thing found in the second search. And about 165 feet north of the sign, buried in a hole just large enough to fit a single human, under some tree roots, a backpack was found containing 3 cassette tapes, a Sony tape recorder, as well as some basic toiletries and other supplies. After some time, the bones were collected and then later sent to the Ashikawa Medical University, who later declared that the bones belonged to a woman with a blood type of O. This left
there's only one person that fits that description.
Recognized that none of the items found in that hole under the tree roots had seemed to correspond with anything belonging to a woman. And to convolute things even further, out of the things that were found on the tapes for the Sony cassette player, Two of them were soundtracks for anime, and the other one had been recorded
Anime's
over,
evil!
leaving a disturbing message with a man's voice on it.
Why would he record that though? It doesn't make much sense.
死者の声から8年、最終鑑定の結果、白骨遺体は男性で SOS の声と同一人物であることが分かった。
Decker of Shingles? Continuously replay it, but it wouldn't be that loud.
Now, what's apparent here is that this person is calling for help, and the literal translation reads, I can't move, I'm on the cliff, SOS, help me, I can't move on the cliff, SOS, help me. The place is where I met the first helicopter, I can't go up deeply, Sasa, lift me up from here. Now, I apologize if the translation is a bit rough, however, this person appears to be calling for help on a cliff, and in case you're unfamiliar with what Sasa is, it is a type of dense bamboo, which makes the context of this recording even more confusing. Because this person appears to be on a cliffside in this recording, however, this was found in the lower trenches of a valley. Continuing on, one item that was found that I haven't mentioned yet in that pile of belongings was an ID card of a hiker that had gone missing about 5 years prior, and this man's name was Kenji Iwamura. I will note that finding anything definitive on Mr. Iwamura or the circumstances surrounding his disappearance is incredibly difficult. The Japanese reporting on the situation redacts his name in every public mention of this case, and only a single story from the Associated Press at the time this event took place in an American newspaper even bothers to name him. All I can say definitively about this guy is that he liked anime, he was an office worker, and he was staying at a hostel, and it seems the only reason people knew he went missing was because he didn't show up for work a week later. As a result of this man's name being redacted, there's so many different versions of this story and the victim that it becomes borderline frustrating. Some sites on this case will mention that he had become an outdoorsy type in his
he probably made the SOS sign too then.
Websites will mention that he wasn't the type of person to go for a hike alone, and even other tellings of the story mention that the man was celebrating a promotion at work and decided to treat himself to a trip up the mountain. But ultimately, if you dig back in newspaper archives, you will get one disturbing detail that is left out everywhere else, and only told in the American side of reporting. The Associated Press had reported at the time this occurred that when they had reached out to the family of Iwamura, they confirmed that the backpack was in fact his. But get this, they were not so sure about who the person on the recording was. They could not say that that was their son. So we have a pile of bones, a missing hiking
maybe that has to do with the quality of the recording
from another
though.
person asking for help in that backpack, and an SOS sign made out of birch trees that was somehow made by a person who may or may not have had broken bones at the time of the sign's creation. Not to mention these trees were cut, however, there was no axe or anything of the sort that could be found in the local area. So naturally you have to ask, what the hell happened on this mountainside?
This is very interesting. Yeah, what the fuck? Like, how would they have cut down the birch trees to do that?
Time, only a few of those questions can really be answered. The first course of action was to figure out what time that sign
I guess they could punch the tree like in Minecraft or something.
On the 28th, it was found that the letters SOS were reflected in the aerial photograph taken by the Forestry Agency in the Geospatial Information Authority of Japan on September 20th, 1987.
A possible woodchuck?
This photo was taken from a point about 3,700 meters above the sky. In the photo, the width of the letters SOS is about 0.9 millimeters. The first S is a little unclear and difficult to understand, but the last S can be confirmed. It's barely noticeable in the photo, but it's clear to the naked eye. The agency and others that take aerial photographs take it every 5 years. Keep in mind this was roughly translated, and I did look for the specific photo that they're referring to, but I don't know if this was released publicly. But this does mean that the sign was potentially undetected for some time past 1982. And while this seems to match up with the timeline of Mr. Iwamura, what couldn't be explained at the time was the woman's bones that were found. As a result, the remains were reassessed by the Ashikawa Medical University, and they had later come out and stated that they had made a mistake, and the bones instead belonged to a male with a blood type of A. This was enough for investigators to deduce that this was Mr. Iwamura, and with no deliberate signs of foul play, the case was closed. However, that's not to say that all of our questions could be fully answered, and to say that we're missing a few details regarding the situation is a bit of an understatement. So let me start to break down what law enforcement believed happened, and you'll start to fully understand how none of it makes sense. Here is a map of the hiking area and the mountain, and it's believed that he hiked up from the ropeway along the ridgeline. This hike isn't very long or particularly advanced by any means. Now, the only thing you really have to pay attention to on this hike are the two landmarks that let you know when you cross over this ridgeline. That main landmark is the safe rock, which looks like this. However, there is another rock along this ridge that looks deceptively similar, and that is the fake safe rock, to which two hikers from the beginning of the story made the same mistake.
Let's just remove the fake safe rock
kilometers north of the SOS sign. As a result of this incident, they ended up putting up ropes to prevent this from happening.
Yeah, I think so.
However, our guy is believed to have taken the wrong safe rock as well and trekked along the hill haphazardly until he wandered sometime down into the marsh. And based on my look on the Japanese discussions on this topic, many people are quick to point out that had he simply followed the river and walked along the edges, he was only about 9 or so miles away from civilization. The terrain definitely wasn't the easiest, and it's definitely someplace that people can get lost. However, the fact that he decided to dedicate his time and energy to cutting down trees is another mystery, especially when you factor the geography here really only gave him one direction that he could head, and that was downhill. But I digress, and now that you sort of have a lay of the land, we can start to get into the nitty-gritty in regards to the rest of the bizarre details of this case.
Always follow the river. Yeah, that always seems to be
let's
like
start with the recording.
Good advice.
Like I said, it's really bizarre that the parents weren't certain that that was their son on the recording, and I've yet to find any amendment to this initial statement. You'd think that a parent would be able to recognize their son's voice without much hesitation, but it is worth considering that this only appears in the American reporting of the situation, and perhaps they didn't get all of the details right. In this initial article, it appears they didn't even get his age right. However, I will note it is actually quite common for initial reports on subject matter to get the age wrong, because everyone is rushing to get the story.
Which way, though? Does it matter?
Your guess is as good as mine regarding the other details. And something to consider is if Iwamura wasn't on this recording, is it possible that he met someone on the way up to the mountain? And to tell you the truth, the evidence doesn't point to Iwamura making this sign by himself. In fact, the person who did the autopsy on this case stated that he wasn't even physically capable of doing it solo. Now, you might be thinking, well, aren't birch trees super flimsy? And not exactly. I selected this video to show you because this tree has roughly the same diameter as many of the other trees that were found there. And keep in mind that the tree he's cutting isn't birch, and birch is a hardwood.
Same thing.
Yeah, birch is typically an advanced wood. You need a high wood cutting level.
And I already mentioned this, but he never brought an axe with him or a knife, so it wasn't even fully clear how 19 birch trees were chopped and moved 100 meters into the clearing. Moreover, the skeleton was found fractured on the left shoulder and right leg. If we are going to argue that he made the SOS signal, we sort of have to make the argument that he got these injuries after animals got to him. And even if he somehow managed to do this while injured, where did the axe come from, what happened to it, and why wasn't it found with his belongings? I will note no other records show he was with anyone during any of his travels, and no other reported persons went missing in the park during this time. But that's not to say something like this couldn't go unreported. And furthermore, you have to ask, if this guy had the strength to build an SOS sign, why wasn't he able to go down the mountain? Like I said, this area isn't super remote. In fact, where he was located basically only gave him the option to follow the river that leads directly to civilization at around 8.5 miles or so. Now, once again, you could say
maybe he just liked the
bones, so he couldn't go down the river. And while I totally understand that people with their life at risk probably aren't going to be thinking 100% clearly, the fact that police closed this investigation without understanding what happened to the axe is sort of questionable. This mystery has a catch-22 at almost every single theory. And usually when you have situations like that, you're missing some details. And 5+ years of this site being left to the elements doesn't help either. so things can easily go missing. Perhaps there's more to the site that's waiting to be unearthed. Getting back to the recording, however, many people have theorized that the man may have used the cassette player as a way of calling for help if he was out of breath and lost his voice. After all, the battery would outlast you yelling. However, one thing that some of the people on the Japanese side of discussion have pointed out is that there's almost no background noise on the recording.
That is a good point.
I would assume that someone yelling for help on a cliffside might result in a little bit more reverb or wind, or even the helicopter that he's referring to in the background.
That's a really good point.
But there really isn't anything of the sort. Speaking of that helicopter mentioned in the recording, it does appear that police searched for Iwamura, and as far as the recording also mentioning Sasa, that can be found growing sideways along the improper trail with the fake rock. But just like everything else with this case, we're not 100% certain this is what's being referred to in the recording. Sasa can be found in a variety of locations throughout the park, and perhaps this helicopter being referred to on the mysterious message wasn't even the particular search helicopter searching for Iwamura, and just another passerby. I can imagine that if you were stranded out in the middle of nowhere and you saw a helicopter, you'd probably have proper bias to think that that was coming to look for you. So once again, it's hard to be sure. What I can say for certain about this topic is that it really leaves a lot of room for interpretation, and I'd love to know what you guys have to say down in the comments. Personally, I think the biggest gap in the story is the missing tool used to cut down the trees. And given how police rushed to close this case in a week, definitely seems like some details are missing. When it comes to the great outdoors, if there's something I've learned, is that only Mother Nature knows the full extent.
Thanks to 5 gift subs, C-Man, and the resub.
Really sociable.
Webry.
Have a good night.
That was a lot more mysterious and interesting than I thought it would be. I don't think it'd be like a murder cover-up, though. Why the fuck would the murderer make an SOS sign? Okay, he's dead, and now I want to make sure it looks like an accident. Oh, I'll chop down 19 birch trees with an SOS sign. I'll record an SOS message on his cassette player. It's foolproof. Like, it's not a very good idea as like a murder cover-up. I think the most likely explanation is he did have some, or found or made some tool to cut down the trees, and his best idea was to make an SOS sign because he didn't know what else to do, and I think while doing that, he hurt himself. That's kind of what I think happened. Thanks to give sub Tori. Where's the tool, though? If it's a tool he made, over the course of 5 years, it could have deteriorated, right? Like, if he made it out of, like, a rock and sticks and shit, an animal could have absolutely, like, chewed on the sticks and broken it or something. That is very interesting. You're overthinking. I can't think of anything else, though, like, how did he make an SOS sign? That's the thing I'm hung up on. That is not easy to cut down a tree. I tried cutting through a small log with a massive axe and couldn't get fully through in like 15 swings. And neither could Matt. Like, it takes a lot. And that wasn't even hardwood. Tuna.
From a high-speed chase, to some terrible prank ideas, to dangerous stunts gone horribly wrong. This is what I'll be covering on today's top 10 list. Starting off this list in our number 10 spot, we have Mona Lisa Perez. Mona Lisa is a YouTuber who used to post makeup and fashion vlogs, but now makes videos more focused on her family and her children. On June 26th, 2017, Mona Lisa and her boyfriend Pedro Ruiz set out to
I know
make
what this
an
is.
extremely
She gets.
video.
Oh boy, she
they
kills him.
decided that they would put a really thick encyclopedia on his chest, and Mona Lisa would shoot a gun at the book.
Yeah.
They were expecting
I made a
the
video
book to
about
be
this.
thick enough to stop the bullet, but unfortunately this was a grave miscalculation. The bullet ended up going straight through the book, and Pedro passed away shortly after. Mona Lisa was arrested immediately, and talk began to swirl about who was to blame. In the end, it was decided that both of them played a role in this terrible day. Mona Lisa was sentenced on December 19th, 2017 to only 6 months in prison after she pleaded guilty to the charges. She has since served her time and will remain on probation for the next 10 years, as well as receiving a lifetime ban from owning a firearm. She continues to make YouTube videos now with 42,000 subscribers, but tends to get about 80% dislikes on her videos. In our number 9 spot today, we have
Thanks to the 5 gift subs, S-Doc and the Prime Julian. I am shocked that she's still on YouTube. I talked about that when it happened. This was during the real big prank trend, where everyone was making prank content. And this was a couple that wanted YouTube views quick, so they thought, and I can't believe this, they thought a good prank was to hold an encyclopedia over his chest and shoot it with a fucking .50 caliber round. It's crazy. I don't know what the prank really was, and I'm assuming the phrase "it's just a prank, bro" didn't save him at the end. But yeah, that was a fucking wild one. Yeah, they used the handgun they used .50 caliber ammunition. Let me get the story up again. Did it go through? It absolutely blasted through the book. I distinctly remember that it used a .50 caliber round. It was a nutty handgun. Yep. Perez pulled the trigger on a .50 caliber Desert Eagle gun. A pistol described in... Oh, well, now it just goes into the pistol. Yeah. They really fucking committed to it. Fuck, yeah. I forgot about this one. That desire for YouTube views could kill you. Though you have to be really fucking dumb to think that a Harry Potter book is gonna stop a .50 caliber round.
Valdrox Studio. But before I dive into this one, please don't forget to like this video because it really helps us out. Valdrox was a YouTuber who is known for his animated characters.
Sleep well, Sari Chin, and thank you for the generosity.
Not safe for work content, and the fact that he stole a lot of his content from other artists, as well as the fact that he was apparently pretending to be a teenage girl in the beginning while he was actually a man in his 20s. On April 11th, 2019, the man behind Valdrox, named David Alejandro Pascal Argueta, was arrested after the Guatemalan police raided his home. In December of 2019, he faced trial for his atrocious crimes and received a sentence of 3 years and 5 months. Unfortunately, there is a law that gives people who have been sentenced to less than 5 years the option to pay a sum of money instead of actually serving time. In our number 8 spot today, we have Jay Station. Jay is a Canadian YouTuber known for his fake prank videos. He's extremely controversial because of the type of content that he posts. He has been arrested quite a few times and has even deleted his channel in the past before starting a new one. Earlier this year, Jay decided to post a video where he claimed that his girlfriend had died. This was untrue and just an idea used to garner attention and gain sympathy subscribers.
I forgot that was last year. I thought that was a lot longer.
Showed up at Jay's house to arrest him after that same girlfriend had accused him of a with a weapon. Jay has since been released and has begun uploading on YouTube again with the same girlfriend. The pair has claimed to have reconciled their differences, and let's hope that this is the end of Jay Station controversies. In our number 7 spot, we have VJP Nair. VJ was a YouTuber who was arrested in September for posting videos that allegedly contained extremely derogatory remarks about women. Apparently, prior to his arrest, he was actually attacked by a group of women activists who took his phone and laptop to hand over to the police. His channel has since become private since the police need to review all of its content in order to conduct their investigation. There's a lot of bizarre stuff going on in this case, like his potentially false claims to be a film director, as well as a teacher, and a potentially fake PhD that he claims he has in clinical psychology. He is still under investigation at the moment, but he is facing 5 years in prison if he is found guilty. In our number 6 spot today, we have Ahmad and Zainab Hassan. The Egyptian YouTube couple are known for their comedy videos and vlogs and quickly gained success. The pair recently welcomed their first child, who they quickly began adding to their videos. Once they began to include their daughter in the videos, people began to get upset over the fact that it really did seem like the baby didn't want to be involved. There was a video where the child was clearly unhappy being posed for it and was crying uncontrollably while the pair just laughed and didn't really do anything to comfort the obviously upset child. There was a video that ended up
That's every family channel on YouTube
when it showed Zainab with dark paint on her face, which is already upsetting and derogatory enough, but she then clearly terrifies the child, who's again crying with what she has just deemed as a prank. The pair has since been arrested and is being investigated for child endangerment, as well as violating Article 96 of Egyptian law, which protects children from threatening situations. They haven't been officially charged yet, but could be facing life sentences, depending on what the official charges ended up being.
Holy shit!
Today,
what?
We have Alex and Alex.
Hold on, it's been 6 months since this video. Who are these? Who are these couple? What were their names? Life sentences? Hey, that sounds like justice to me. Fuck yeah. I was expecting like 5-10 years maybe. I love to hear that. Oh, they posted bail. No updates. Are they still posting content? That's a shame.
Hassan. The spot today uploaded prank videos. In our number 5 spot today, we have Alex and Alex.
I remember this one.
The twin YouTubers are known for their prank videos, but last year a video they uploaded has caused quite a stir for the two. Last October, they uploaded a video that was supposed to be a bank robbery prank. They called an Uber and they got in wearing black outfits and ski masks and had large duffel bags and pretended like they had just robbed a bank. The Uber driver rightfully denied to take them anywhere, and a witness thought that the boys were carjacking the Uber driver, and they called the police. Once police arrived on the scene, they approached the Uber driver with their guns drawn. This poor, unsuspecting Uber driver really didn't deserve to be caught up in all of this. Apparently, shortly after this incident, the boys
didn't stay in jail for long.
At the University of California's Irvine campus, where police were called again. They were originally let off with a warning, but they have since been charged with false imprisonment as well as falsely reporting an emergency, which could see them each receiving a 4-year sentence.
God, that would have been great. They didn't get that.
Just happened the other day. A Russian YouTuber named Stanislav Reshetnikov has been arrested and is being investigated for the death of his girlfriend Valentina. On a live stream, Stanislav was offered $1,000 to lock Valentina outside in the freezing cold. Unfortunately, he decided to do this and things really escalated. Valentina ended up passing away due to hypothermia after being left outside. Stanislav continued the live stream even after he had discovered what happened to her, and it saw him calling the paramedics, them showing up and pronouncing her dead, and then apparently continued on for another 2 hours after that.
Yep.
His YouTube account has of course been terminated for a multitude of reasons, and he remains in police custody as they finish conducting their investigation. In our number 3 spot, we have Pablo Benua and
Thought she survived.
Nope. These Indonesian...
That wasn't the whole thing. The guy had a history on his stream of where people would donate to him and he'd like hit her, and then that guy donated $1,000, told him to lock her outside. So he did that, and she was pretty much not completely naked. She had bra and panties on, and he locked her outside in freezing temperatures. She died outside. He brought her inside on camera to like show off what happened on camera. Then he sets her on the couch, and he's crying, and then he eventually calls the paramedics. They come, pronounce her dead, and then he just lets the stream continue to watch the paramedics talk about it, and yeah, she was pregnant. Fucking crazy story. That one I remember because that was pretty fucking recent.
YouTubers post interview videos with different celebrities on YouTube, but they have recently been arrested and sentenced for what one of their 2019 videos contained. In an interview with an actor, the pair asked about his ex-wife named Firuz. The actor then made derogatory comments about her and disclosed some extremely personal information, to which Pablo and Ray were laughing and acting disgusted. Of course, once Firuz saw this, she was rightfully upset and filed for defamation. Earlier this year, Firuz saw some justice carried out when her ex-husband was sentenced to 2 years and 4 months, Pablo was sentenced to 1 year and 8 months, and Ray was sentenced to 1 year and 4 months. This obviously came as a huge relief to Firuz, as she posted on Instagram after all 3 were sentenced about her gratitude for the decision. In our number 2 spot today, we have Ryan Stone. In 2014, the YouTuber Ryan Stone led police on an incredibly dangerous high-speed chase.
Wait, he was a YouTuber?
Over an hour, traveled over 60 miles, and critically injured a state trooper.
I had no idea.
Stolen a vehicle from a gas station that had a 4-year-old boy in the back seat. He ended up also stealing 2 other vehicles and hit a state trooper going 90
This is an extremely famous video. We've all seen it.
It's been said that Ryan may have been under the influence of drugs and was struggling with addiction at the time, which may have possibly led to this erratic and dangerous behavior, but others suggest that some disrespectful remarks he has made about the situation have shown him as being unremorseful. Ryan was sentenced in 2015 to 160 years in prison prison, but will likely become eligible for probation in 75 years, which would make him 102 years old. In our number 1 spot today, we have...
I know everyone's seen this video. I'll pull it up real quick just so you know who they're talking about. I had no idea he was a YouTuber. This guy is fucking crazy. It is a nuts chase. Which one? I don't think... Is it this one? Yeah, because he sheds his jacket. I remember when he first got arrested, his plan was to monetize this video, monetize the police footage, enough to pay his way out of jail. I didn't know he was a YouTuber, though. Do you know how long the chase was? You're about to see the whole chase. Well, from the GTA part, he already led them on a chase and then started doing this. Oh, so she wasn't pregnant. Okay. And he got 6 to 8 years. 6 to 8 years for killing her seems a little low. He'll get killed in prison. No, he won't. He's in prison right now. He's been in prison for a couple of years, I believe. I think the sentence was a couple of years ago. But I can assure you he's not having fun in prison.
He's pulling someone else out of the car, and she's trying to stop him.
Oh my god. I forgot how fucking crazy it was. Jesus fucking Christ. 160 years. And to be honest, that seems kind of low. They should have just fucking slapped the 250 years on it or something. Do people not lock their doors? She unlocked her door because she thought that it was just a normal accident and they were about to exchange information, so she was getting out. That's the car with the baby, that's why she was like that? Was it? I thought it was the van that had the baby in it. Oh, and that's where she ends. His fucking plan was to do all of this and monetize the video to buy his way out of jail. Let that sink in for a minute. There's people that fucking stupid out there. Crazy. I didn't know he was a YouTuber before that, though. That was new information in this video.
LensCap Productions. LensCap Productions was a YouTuber who liked to review anime content. His real name is Trey Eric Sessler, and he quickly became one of the largest anime review channels.
Oh, we actually just learned about this guy too.
Extremely dark turn in 2012. Trey made a plan to kill 70 people at his high school.
Thanks, Prime Joey, in the
This
resub
plan
poke.
fortunately didn't end up being completed, but Trey did end up killing his own family. He said that he did it so that they would be spared from knowing his ultimate plan that never ended up being carried out. It is an unbelievably tragic situation that ended up giving Trey a life sentence in prison. There were a lot of people who originally thought that maybe he might even receive the death penalty since he lives in Texas where it is legal, but that did not happen. Trey has asked for his parole opportunities to be taken away because he said he doesn't trust himself outside of prison. Alright guys, that has been our list for today.
Yeah, we learned about that guy pretty recently. I did know that one.
A small
That was wild. I didn't know the majority of people on those lists. That was surprising. I thought it'd be the obvious ones, but it wasn't. Conclusion, YouTubing makes you crazy. I bet if you looked at the stats, more people that are in jail have Twitter accounts that they're active on than YouTube accounts. But YouTube probably somewhere in there as well.